Project Go began as a group of teachers meeting together to look at our data, our instructional practices, and data from other schools that are similar to ours. In these conversations, we decided that we wanted to work differently. We wanted to adapt some of our practices to better meet the students' needs. What this looks like is opening our classrooms to each other as colleagues, to coaching, and to looking at adding instructional practices to increase student engagement. We want this to be, and it is, a grassroots and sustainable movement of sorts, where teachers are reflecting on our own practice and making decisions that we know are best for kids. We commit to supporting each other and celebrating when things go really well, and we have student data to help us decide when to celebrate, and also to be supportive for each other when things are challenging, because we all are aware that change in our practice and growth in our practice can sometimes be difficult. So we have committed to supporting each other throughout that process and throughout change. We believe that we've come up with 5 elements to capture what we believe Project Go is about, and those 5 elements keep us rooted and focused on the goal of improving student achievement.
Through a series of invitational meetings, focus was narrowed to 5 elements. These 5 elements are as follows. Number 1, increase academic rigor. Number 2, engage in discourse level 2 dialogue and professional conversations. Number 3, integrate common literacy strategies across all areas of content. Number 4, plan and teach with a common lesson architecture. And number 5, open instructional practices to others through lab classrooms.
Although the 5 elements overlap and complement one another, the grounding element directed our focus to increase academic rigor. State test scores, individual classroom assessments, daily challenges in the classroom, and behavioral data all pointed toward a need for raising expectations around student academic work. Teachers had to examine their own beliefs, limitations, and habits as individuals and as a community of educators. What we found is that we all believed our students were capable of more. We were all hopeful that we could create meaningful change and we could transform our school.
For our meetings and professional norms, Project Go decided to use Types of Discourse Regarding Change in Our Schools by Glenn Eric Stevenson. We want our conversations and actions to include multiple voices, to yield transformative change, to challenge us to move toward the way things could be, to be moving forward despite limitations, and be firmly rooted in the learning experience of our students.
The commitment to integrating common literacy strategies across content was a school-wide commitment already. We decided to deepen our efforts through continued focus on the 5 reading strategies and to add the writing of common expectations as well.
Planning and teaching with common lesson architecture. Teaching with a common lesson architecture came from models we had seen and read about in schools exhibiting greater academic progress, greater than we were experiencing here at Rao. We decided that the lesson architecture we chose was not necessarily going to be the stumbling block. There's hundreds of examples of this, and we didn't want to get so hung up on the details. Rather, the decision to plan and teach within a common structure was what was going to be our biggest challenge. It's going to take commitment, professional development, and collegial support. I think the results we are seeing is that through that commitment, collegial support, and professional development, the results are paying off.
The challenges I was having in my classes centered around a lack of consistent structure. Implementing lesson architecture and being supported in a lab environment allowed me to quickly shift my focus from management to instruction. If I didn't have the lab experience, I would still be struggling.
A project lab class at RAU provides teachers the opportunity to be aware of their teaching while they're teaching. Through pausing the class and having the coach and teacher dialogue, the teacher can hear and see what's being effective and listen to what possible other approaches could be used, and then the teacher decides how to proceed. Project lab classes are open to teachers to observe and reflect upon the fluid process of teaching. Through attending a project lab, teachers take the time to reflect about their own practices, the practices of their colleagues, and the larger practices of teaching and the teaching profession. A lab class is designed to be a learning opportunity for all participants, the classroom teacher, visiting teachers and coaches, and students.
For the textbook features.
Can we pause right here? So what I noticed is you had just put up on the document camera really great examples. You've got everybody looking at it, and you had named some textbook features like bullets, words in bold, graphics, pictures. Before you send the students off to go find those things and talk about them, I think we have a nice opportunity to do a quick review. Tell your partner what are 5 textbook features you might see in this health book, and then you can make sure that what you said and what you just showed, they are synthesizing or connecting with what the assignment is.
Okay.
Okay, let's unpause. We'll just rewind a little bit.
Okay. So you're going to turn and tell your partner 5 features that you guys can find in the
And I want to connect what we've done the last 2 days to what we're doing today. We started with generating ideas. We came up with some different ways that writers generate ideas, and then we did it ourselves. Yesterday, we were looking for small moments from our lists, and lots of you started into a small moment. Some people started writing and never found their small moment or haven't found it yet. And writing goes like that. Not everyone's going to be in the same place ever once you start. So today, I'm going to teach you guys a technique that writers use to start their writing or use as a lead or an introduction. Okay, I'm going to ask you to freeze for a second. And teachers, one thing that I want to make sure I do is connect what we've done the last few days to the learning that we're going to do today, and to be really explicit with the team. I'm going to ask partner A and partner B to talk in a second here is, what are 2 other ways that I could use dialogue from what you know in my story? So partner A, you're going to tell partner B, here's one thing she could have said, or her uncle could have said, or her cousin could have said. Partner B, you're going to listen and say, oh, that's a good idea. And then you're going to share another idea. Okay? Then you got to use your thinking for a second here, jump in. Okay? Partner A and partner B, go ahead and talk to each other. And teachers, one thing that I wanted to do in the teaching point is share my writing. And I'm not sure if this is the most effective way, or maybe using a Elmo document camera might have been better, so I have to think about that. But the next thing is the active engagement. One-on-one coaching usually occurs during the workshop part of the lesson. Once the students are working, the teacher can have short conferences with individual students or small groups. During this time, the coach sits right next to the teacher, listens, compliments, and coaches on one specific method that supports the teacher's focus. The goal of one-on-one coaching is to help the teacher be precise, helpful, and focused when meeting with a student or small group. Dialogue coaching can also occur during staff meetings, both as a way to model a project lab classroom and to make explicit the expectation that everyone, both teachers and students, are engaged in ongoing learning. The principal of RAU Middle School opened his practice through modeling lesson architecture while being coached during a staff meeting.
Let's start with you and move over here to Mary and Laura and Tammy. You guys can sit down. That's the order we're going to go in. I'm not sure we'll have time for everybody to share out today, but would you please share what the one thing that you learned in this process about improving a lesson?
The instructor decides, okay, for this workshop to be most useful, I'm going to give them a little, bring them back, give them a little, bring them back, give them a little, and actually tell them now what they're accountable for, bring them back. See the value also of the scaffolded workshop. Or if you feel like, I can't let my kids go for 20 minutes, great. Scaffold it really well so that you are facilitating their workshop time. The second thing was the share and how quick it was. Hey, if your birthday's here, here, or here, I didn't hear anybody say, I don't want it. I mean, I understand we're all adult learners.
Cool to see a lot of things going on, like, and some connections being made. I thought it was cool to how there was a chance to actually, like, in the moment, do things slightly different, although I'm sure that happened more last class than this class because that was the first time we did it. But I can imagine that would be really helpful and cool, you know. And then also to see to also have that moment where she said, "Why don't you try it again this way?" And you're like, "No, I already know this class, and I don't really want to do that." And now they know anyway. But
Right.
you know, and I just kind of like that as well.
And I think
You're filming this?
within the process, there's the freedom to do that, which is great.
Yeah.
I don't have to
It has
take,
to
you know,
be.
you don't have to follow exactly what the coach tells you to do. You know, but there's the processing of it, which I think that's the value.
That is the value.
I noticed that whenever you two were talking to each other, you were talking really respectfully. I had no idea my teacher planned so much for us. I love listening to you guys talk because I want to be a teacher someday and it's really interesting to me. I thought it was cool because we weren't the only ones learning.
If your school is interested in Project Go, we suggest that you find a couple teacher leaders and possibly an instructional coach, and you meet together to dialogue about the 5 elements of Project Go. We then suggest that you set up an invitational meeting to all staff, teachers, administrators, counselors. And at RAU, this began as a letter that I, as the instructional coach, wrote to the whole staff and invited them to come to a meeting to just discuss our reality, both as teachers and the reality for our students. After that, we suggest that you take a look at the 5 elements, you choose 1 or 2 to begin with, but at the same time, you have a time frame where you will introduce the other elements. We also have found that it's fantastic to have 100% administrative support, but we do not ask the administration to mandate Project Go, but instead join us as parallel and equal partners. In this way, it remains a grassroots and sustainable movement and is very fluid to what the teachers and students in your building need.